Welcome back, Monica. Thanks for helping with our third module too. And the third module is a little bit beyond the data or statistics you need for a story that are kept by government or an agency. We're talking about documents, like the document mindset or the records mindset that's often thought of with regard to investigations. But for instance, legal documents, legal records are so underutilized. And they can tell you so much about a business, like a private business. If you don't know anything about a private business, you can look for lawsuits, and frequently a lot of information is disclosed in legal documents. Can you talk about those kind of public records and your any experience or advice with that sort of searching?
Well, you have the private companies that are difficult ones.
Yeah.
You have platforms like Open Corporate.
Yes.
But one of the advantages of Open Corporate is that they gather information for not only for the US, you could have information for other countries,
Yes.
and they
Very important.
link the agency where they get the information.
Yeah.
That it's so useful. One thing that is important to have in mind when you're thinking about private companies is do like a outline, asking this question: where the companies have to report things, access, board members, if there is a company related with environmental issues, if they have to send any report, or they even if there are private companies, if there is an organization or agency that oversees. If you The other thing is that the private companies are around the world. And sometimes companies don't think like journalists could take a look in other countries when they have subsidiaries.
That's
And
right.
it's other thing that you have to have in mind, because could be that you have to study, and it's not difficult. You can connect with journalists in this specific country, or ask to an expert in this specific country, or Google it.
Mm-hmm.
What are the rules to establish a company in this country, and what kind of public information this specific country has about this company.
Right. That's great.
The other document that I consider is important is that annual reports.
Yes.
And sometimes they have these beautiful photos about activities, or conference, or even social events, and sometimes could be interesting
Yeah.
to find stories or to connect dots
Right.
uh, of your story.
I like to, sorry to interrupt. I like to look at audit reports too for private and public companies, publicly, uh, public, oh, I forget what the name of that thing is called, but there are audit reports done by agencies and watchdogs, and they cross borders too, depending on where the company exists. So look for an audit of the work done by a company. If a government puts money puts budget behind that company.
And of course, court documents.
Yes, court documents.
Our documents are always a good source, because in the court document, you could find information that could be private sometimes.
Yep.
Numbers of, for example, the number of employees that a company has,
Revenue.
Contact of former employees, or who are the board members.
Yep.
Then court records. It's even if the court records it's old.
Yeah. Still get some value out of them. That's true. That's great. That's great.
Of course, social media,
Ah,
social media of the companies. There is other document that sometimes we don't take a look, but have information, especially related with environmental issues, the social corporate reports, all these documents that the company publish in order to say, I'm a good member of the community.
right.
They have good information and could give you an idea what this company is invest.
Right. And along those lines, nonprofits,
Exactly.
nonprofits around the world may have certain responsibilities to report, and those might be connected with a private company for their social responsibility donations.
Exactly. Donations. The organization that they give money could give you an idea where are they interested. Not only of the company, the people behind the company.
Right. Right. And you were talking about, public companies. They have so much information available that, you really should, like, what's the first stop for something like that?
Well, the first step is the Security and Exchange Commission.
Right. Right. SEC.
The 10K report.
Mm-hmm.
It's mandatory if you're looking at a private company.
Oh, public.
A public company.
Yes, we can do that again. 3, 2, 1. It's mandatory. Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
The Security and Exchange Commission,
Mm-hmm.
the 10K report.
Mm-hmm.
It's mandatory to take a look at the report if you are doing an investigation related to a public company.
Right. Has so much information about the lawsuits they're involved in, possible violations they're held on the hook for, any risk that they have, any union fighting that they have. Look for those sort of documents in the US for other countries too. And check out, what
they have the information related to the operation in other countries.
Yes,
The cases that they
subsidiaries.
have in other countries.
Right.
And actually, the plans that they have sometimes of subsidiaries or how they want to expand their business in other countries too, then it gives you a good idea what the company is doing.
Right. So there are a lot of great public record sources that aren't necessarily data. They're actually, documents. But okay, so what do we do now if the documents don't exist? How do we deal with the data set that doesn't exist?
Well, there is a possibility to create a database.
Yeah.
I work in a project in 2019 about religion leaders related with Trump administration.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so fun because we create a database related with the trips that these leaders did around the world.
Wow.
Then we did it through social media posts and the press releases and new clips.
Great. So articles, press releases of the religious leaders, and social media posts. You created a distinct data set of where they were going and what they were doing. Yeah.
Where they're going, the day that they made the trip, the people that they met, the goals that they had in this meeting. We also, for example, sometimes one of these leaders posts a photo, and we realized that he traveled with other leaders. Then it gives us like a hinge, like, okay, we have to look at the social media of this specific leader, or who is this person in the photo. And we create the database. I think like for a data reporter, it's a lot of fun to create a database, but also it's a lot of work behind.
Yes.
And
What are some of the steps that you recommend?
First is to be clear about what is your goal.
Okay.
Simple is better, because you can create a huge database that at the end is impossible to manage. Be focused on the essentials. What exactly do you need? Then same, pen and paper. And do the questions. Made a list of questions that you will like to answer with this data. And then do like a structure of each column. You have to be clear which type of data you are going to collect in each column. This is so important. And how I'm going to gather this data. For example, in an example that I give you, we know exactly the sources where we will gather this data. And one important thing before start the project is to consider if you are going to work with other journalists, because or a group of journalists, because everybody have to be in the same page in everything. How you are going to identify the data point that you are going to enter to the data, and what is the meaning of each column. Then a good practice is to have a data dictionary. If you're working in Excel, create one of the sheets like and label like data dictionary, and you put exactly in what each column are going to mean, the data type, the rules to collect this data. For example, if you are collecting information about money, do you want that the person put the sign of dollars, for example? Because and at the end you have to clean this data, but try to clean the last. Yes, and to be sure, for example, we set our rules about how to identify the date that the trip that we identified was made, then what is the rule? How we are going to corroborate that this was in a specific date? How we cross post from different religious leaders, check in the press release that they publish, because you have to be clear about, okay, this number is going to be the same, is going to be collected in the same way in every row on this column.
That helps in two ways. I see. I think it's so it helps with transparency, right? Because they know how you collected it, what your intention was, but it also makes it reproducible, like in science, right? Someone has to be able to reproduce your results. So that makes it all the more authoritative and accurate.
Yeah, this is why it's so important to pay a lot of attention in the process of the design the scheme that you are going to use, and the documentation process, right? Like a data dictionary, like a data diary, how to come up with the rules that you establish, what you are going to do and where you are not going to include in the data. There's going to be the limitations, and the rules, like, okay, this column you're going to collect in this column this specific information. And this is something that you have for transparency to your methodology when you publish your story. And then test the data. At one point, test a little bit the data in order to figure out if you're getting what you want to get.
How did you test it?
Do the questions.
Got it.
Do the questions, a couple of questions. No, don't do that at the end of your project, because if not, you have to come back.
Yeah, if you have to adjust something, you don't want to wait till.
Yes, when you have a decent amount of data, take the data and do the questions. I'm pretty sure that you're going to find problems.
Right.
And this is the moment to solve these problems.
What were one or two of the questions that you can tell us that respective to that data, to that story?
Then this was a cross-border investigation. Then we have several people working on this specific data set. And one of the simple questions that we did was to test if one of these religion leaders was in different places in the same date.
Got it.
It means that we had a problem in the data gathering, and
they could only be one place at one time.
Exactly.
Good.
It was impossible.
Yes.
And the other thing that we did, it was a timeline.
Oh.
For the most important leaders. Then we did the timeline after collect a good amount of data, and did a timeline. Okay, it was in the White House at this specific day. Travel to the Middle East, then go to Latin America, and it was a good way to prove that, okay, the data gathering was okay.
Good. That's great. Thanks. Were there any other things that you wanted to add about the process of creating your own data set, however big or small?
A good practice is to talk with other people.
Okay.
Other journalists, your editor, the editor that doesn't know anything about your work.
Got it.
Then, or an expert that had been working with this kind of topic, for example.
Someone who could challenge you. That's really great with fact checking. That's our next.
Testing you, like, okay, ask you, you can tell them what flaws do you find in this database. Yes. What things I have to consider, like question what you are doing. I think like it could be a coworker, an editor not related with your story, an expert, your mom, someone that doesn't know anything about your project.
Right. That's terrific. I'm just so glad we got this opportunity to work together on this interview, and that you're sharing your superpowers with the world. And it's really generous of you. And I'm super proud, like I said, to get the chance to work with you. So thanks.
No, thank you so much, Barbara, for having me and give me the opportunity to talk to you and all the people that are watching our conversation.
Terrific. Okay. Keep up the great work.
Okay, bye.
Talk to you soon.